All right, lesson 48. This is actually one of the shortest lessons in all 365 lessons, but it's also one of the hardest to believe. And why is that? Because this lesson is about fear. If fear is the opposite of love, and only love is real, that means that fear is not real. However, it governs how we perceive our world. Everything that we see when we aren't seeing through the eyes of love, we're seeing through the eyes of fear. The distress that we feel, the anxiety that we feel, the mistrust that we feel, it's all symptoms of fear. Fear of unworthiness, fear of judgment, fear of criticism, fear of the future, fear of the past. So much is governed through our perceptions, and our perceptions are through the lens of fear. And this lesson is saying, not true. There is nothing to fear. Lesson 48, there is nothing to fear. Now, I want to make a distinction between fear and danger. For now, because in truth, the Course would say that there really isn't much of a distinction because it's all untrue. Even your sense of danger ultimately does not impact your soul. But in this world, in this incarnation, in how we're functioning through this world, yes, there is a distinction between fear and danger. However, we have in danger a flight or fight response. We have one that is not governed by the analytical mind. It's an autonomic response to danger. Fear, on the other hand, is psychological. Fear lives in the mind. When we look at just the fear of the future, the fear of uncertainty, we know that this fear lives in the mind. We don't know what's in our best interest. We don't know whether or not what seems uncertain is actually good for us. When we look at our fear of rejection, we don't know if we're going to be rejected. We don't even know if the experience that we're having of rejection is what was intended by the person that we feel rejected us or the situation. If you study any of your reactions, you realize that you truly don't know whether or not they're true because they live in the mind. That is why the Course says that there is nothing to fear. We're also held. We are held by a force that is loving, that is protective. And yet, we don't believe in this force. We believe in our own strength, like the prior lesson said. And in belief in our own strength, it invariably leads to fear. What are some other fears that we experience? The fear of judgment. That is a huge one. The fear that we are going to be judged as not being good enough. What do you do with that fear? What about when you have that experience of yourself, self-judgment? I am not worthy. I am not good enough. What standard are you using to determine what is good enough? It's in the mind. The belief that you have to be perfect. What is the definition of perfection? Also in the mind. Subjective. The fear of rejection. Again, where does it live? There is nothing to fear. So in this exercise, it's actually, not only is it one of the shortest, it's also one of the simplest. Because all you're doing is throughout the day just reminding yourself, there is nothing to fear. There is nothing to fear. And so when experiences come your way into your field of awareness, whether it's by thought or by sight, you just remind yourself, there's nothing to fear. Your child is going to be studying overseas. There's nothing to fear. You have a job interview. there's nothing to fear. You stay open and to embrace anything that life brings your way, trusting and having faith in the power that governs all of existence. There is nothing to fear. That is lesson 48. Just take your time with it throughout the day. And if you find yourself not remembering to say that there is nothing to fear, to think that thought, then that means you're in it. You're in the drama. You're not witnessing outside of the drama that you're in. You're too stuck in the game. If you have enough space between the experience that you're having and what the Buddhists would call the witness, the observer of the experience, then there's enough space for you to remember to say, there is nothing to fear. And it's just retraining the mind. That's all this is. Retraining the mind. You're reminding yourself, and if you're reminding yourself of it, you're also helping the mind remember that that is your normal state, actually. It is your sane state versus your insane one. Your normal state is that there is nothing to fear. Fear not. I'll see you tomorrow for lesson 49.